Welcome back to Area DMG. I am your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and for today's episode of Area DMG, we are going to take a look at the top 10 M-rated games on the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS. We're not going to show you footage of these in this video because I don't have all the equipment to capture all that properly. And then I would have to put this into an age gate. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to unveil what's in here. And then I'm going to explain a little bit of why it's rated M. Before we go into this though, I'd like to give a moment to some, quote, honorable mentions, end quote. There's actually quite a bit of M-rated games on the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo 3DS. Especially if you're a new 3DS owner and you can get games like, say, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is on new 3DS only, or digital titles like Ace Attorney 5, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 5 Dual Destinies, which was rated M for various sequences. There's also a bunch of M-rated visual novels and such on the eShop, and we have games like Corpse Party coming out later this year. Now, this top 10 will probably have to be redone later on when more M-rated titles come out, especially when you see some of the ones on this. Now, let's talk about what's not on our list. Let's get into our honorable mentions. Some of our honorable mentions are rated M because they're just ridiculously bloody. Ones like Touch the Dead. This weird little tap 'em up is not on our list because it's an okay game. It's not anywhere near as good as the ones that are on our list. Now we've got some more that we're going to bring up as we go along, but before I go back into it, two more I'll mention. Core, an interesting little first-person shooter for the Nintendo DS. This one's M-rated for violence and such, and pretty interesting. Also, Driver Renegade, which is an M-rated 3DS game, and it's just not really that good. That's why they're not on this list. So, let's start down. For number 10 on our list, we have Dementing, the Ward. Dementing, the Ward and Dementing 2 are bloody first-person shooter games from Renegade Kid. Both of these were published by, first one was published by Gamecock and then South Peak Publishing. But there is a Dementing Remastered on the Nintendo 3DS eShop right now that's definitely worth checking out. They fixed a lot of little issues that Dementing and Dementing 2 have, and the Dementing 2 Remaster is out later this year. It's definitely worth checking out if you like horror games and if you like first-person shooters. And Renegade Kid did a wonderful job with that. So, let's go ahead and set that over here. Our next up is Theresia. Theresia from Axis, you'll see other games from them here too, is a horror game with some fantastic elements to it. Another good horror game that's not in our top 10 with some fantastic horror elements to it would be Castlevania Mirrors of Fate, which I have no idea really why this is rated M because it didn't need to be. But yeah, that's not on our list. Next up on our list is Senran Kagura Burst 2, Deep Crimson. The first one is eShop only in the United States, and this fan servicey favorite has lots of sexual overtones and nudity mostly, as shinobi beat the pants and shirts and blouses and bras and panties off of each other in combat. It's from Marvelous, an Xseed Games which has refused to pander to the easily offended and cut content from these games, which is good. Another game put out by, strangely enough, Atlas is Conception 2. which has this weird little classmating thing. Basic idea of this dungeon crawler is that you do a visual novel section where you get to know some of the ladies of this university or whatnot, and then you make a baby with them in a weird and awkward cutscene, and then you send out the baby to die in the maze. Yeah. It's a weird game. But it's also not on our list because I felt that a lot of the games here that are on our list are kind of better. Anyways, that's on our list. But Senran Kagura 2 is, and you can check out the first one on the eShop here in the United States. Okay, our next one up is Metal Gear Solid 3D, Snake Eater. Now, Metal Gear Solid is a fantastic series. I like them a lot. I really would have liked a remaster of 1 or 2 on the 3DS as well, but Metal Gear Solid 3D, which really could have benefited from being on, say, the new 3DS instead of the 3DS, has some frame rate issues, but still playable. Also, you can kill and eat a Yoshi. Yes! You've always wanted to do that, right? And that's why Metal Gear Solid 3D is on this. It's got, profanity and war and love that can bloom on a battlefield. Wait, is that one? I'm trying to remember. All those plots are weird. Next up on our list, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. This particular DS game, is a brand new Grand Theft Auto. I'm not really sure where it fits into the overall arcing storyline of these Grand Theft Auto games, but it's more top-down and more old school, closer to Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 instead of the 3D Grand Theft Auto 3 and such. If you want to check those out, there's a game called Cop the Recruit, which is a more 3D Grand Theft Auto. But Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars is such a good game that they ported it over to the iOS and to the Vita. But yeah, that one's good. Drug content and cursing and all that other jazz. Now, next up on our list is... this is a weirdly pronounced one. It is Hakka Wookie, Shin Megami, something. It is a visual novel game where you are this girl who's possibly dating any of these types of shinobi. I haven't finished this one yet. It reminds me a bit of like a violent and feudal Rurouni Kenshin style themed Hatuful boyfriend, and I'm like, I'll get to finishing this thing eventually. It's mostly rated M for frank discussion about sex and cursing. A lot of the F word being thrown around there. And next up on our list is Persona Q. Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth, is a game that I'm not sure why it's really rated M. I mean, there are some demon designs and such, but for the most part, it's pretty cute. It uses the Etrian Odyssey style engine and injects it with Persona 3 and 4 style characters and such. And it's a side story in which they meet. It's a weird crossover, definitely worth playing through, although I wouldn't say it's as good as Etrian Odyssey or Persona. So yeah, it's a nice little thing, and I wish that it sold more so they'd be more inclined to bring other Persona games to the 3DS. I would love a new 3DS port of Persona 4. I'd buy it again. We all would. Anyways, that's Persona Q. And one thing to note about Persona Q is that, well, we'll get to that in a bit, actually. Our third one up is 999. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. This is part of the Zero Escape series, which also includes Virtue's Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma. This particular brand of game, it's a combination of visual novel and adventure games, similar to a combination of say that Hakka Wookie game and Myst or Project Journeyman. Overall, fantastic game, fantastic writing. It doesn't talk down to its audience. It's intelligent, and the puzzles make sense from a math perspective is the best way to put it. This is some fantastic Kurt Wagner or and Isaac Asimov inspired sci-fi horror / Saw-like escape room stuff. It is good. And it is worth your time to track down all of them. Be careful with Virtue's Last Reward. There is a save room bug in one of the paths. I actually recommend checking out what path that is and finishing that path first. That's the only time I recommend checking a branch. That way you don't accidentally corrupt your game save data. But yeah, Virtue's Last Reward is pretty awesome, and Zero Time Dilemma is good, and 999 is pretty good too. But you should check those out. And that's why that's number 3 on our list. Number 2 on our list is one I said I would come back to, and that is Shin Megami Tensei 4. The Shin Megami Tensei series, which also spawned Persona, has spawned a bunch of different little other titles, including the T-rated Devil Survivor series, and a couple other ones that are worth mentioning, like, okay, where are those? Oh, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, and Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. Now someday somebody will move Strange Journey onto the 3DS, and that'll be fantastic. They are rated M for language, thematic elements, and demon designs, and just overall goodness. There's a sequel to Shin Megami Tensei 4 called Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which is out later this year, and of course, it already has its spot set on this list. Now, my favorite M-rated game on the Nintendo 3DS and DS would have to be Resident Evil Revelations. This game proved so popular, or maybe it didn't sell enough, I don't know, to end up getting ported to the PlayStation 3, the Wii U, and then the, I think the Xbox, whatever that was. Yeah, Resident Evil Revelations is a fantastic game. It goes for as low as $5 on the eShop every now and again, and it is definitely worth checking out. It is a third-person shooter in the Resident Evil series. It's got that trademark Resident Evil cheese, and it is good. It's gory, there's some cursing, some provocative language, and there are parts where it's genuinely actually kind of scary. Also, I would recommend, if you're going to get into the Resident Evil series on the DS and 3DS, you need to pick up Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D, another one that's usually on sale, and Resident Evil Deadly Silence, which is a port of the very first Resident Evil game. Out of all these ones, Deadly Silence and Revelations are the best ones on that. The Mercenaries 3D is just the Mercenaries side game with a lot more levels and some pretty decent multiplayer. There's a raid mode on Resident Evil Revelations that's also worth checking out. Resident Evil Deadly Silence also has a rebirth mode where you can slash at your screen with your knife, the touchscreen with your stylus to mimic a knife. It's weird. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you have a new 3DS or a 3DS with the CirclePad Pro. And that's my list of my top 10, with a few additional mentions, M-rated titles for the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS. What are your favorites? Are there ones I'm missing in here that you really think I should have? Like, if you really think that Jaws game should totally be on this list, let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share this with your friends, and until the next video comes out, you are now caught up.